Roxo Media House.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Purple Theory podcast. My name is Grant McGalliard. Have alongside with me my co-host, my friend Parker Fleming. Parker, we are 10 days away from Christmas. Are you excited? Have you put up your little Santa decorations anywhere?
We do. We have some no Santa specific decorations. We have what I would consider a very elegant tree in our front window. We've got some garland and lights out on the front porch, and a couple little stockings hanging up the wall. So, you know, some nice touches. We did gingerbread houses last Thursday. I think had a friend or two over and made some gingerbread houses. So we're fully in the spirit. And I think I did my final bout of shopping today for the various family secret Santas and everything that we have to do.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I'm trying to get into the spirit as well. It's, you know, I have Christmas lights around my coffee cups. Had a mini tree last year, but I think Max might be at the size now where he will try to eat the mini tree.
That's so Max's mini tree. Yep.
Yeah. So we're skipping that for now. But no, good deal, man. Just trying to get into the spirit of the season. Parker, how's this for a transition? You ready? Not only is it Christmas season, it's also transfer portal season.
It is transfer
portal is
portal
officially
season.
open.
Portal's wide open, man. People are just walking in, walking out, walking back in. It's all over the place.
There's been a couple of names floated about, two from Alabama. I think Jeremy Clark kind of broke the news that Tommy Brockermeyer, who's a former five-star offensive tackle, it comes from a Texas family, has been hurt at Alabama. Hasn't seen a lot of playing time. His crystal ball projection now has him landing at TCU, which would be cool. JoJo Earl, a wide receiver, also kind of in that portal. But Parker, what have you been hearing? What should we be looking out for?
Definitely heard both of those. If I'm not mistaken, Brockermeyer's dad, maybe brother, is Fort Worth, is Arlington Heights, like royalty.
Gotcha.
And then Brockermeyer was Country Day or All Saints, home of Foster Sawyer, maybe.
That is correct. Yeah.
But has had some issues with injury and with consistency. Is a big dude, and I think that the reason TC's going pretty hard in the portal. There's more than I can like. I'm not going to break news or say anything that other people have told me that's not out there already. But like, TC's going really hard in the portal, and I really think they believe that with their like off-season program and the momentum they have, that they don't need to rebuild. They can reload, and the offensive line will be super important for that because you're going to replace three at least offensive linemen and probably a position change. So you're probably looking for two new tackles, and a center is probably what TC is looking for. So Brockermeyer healthy and consistent would be a huge boon to the tackle position for TCU.
Yeah. While you mentioned the offensive line, we should also give a shout out to Steve, first team All-American, Steve Avila.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Pretty well deserved. I mean, a guy who's been on people's radars for a long time, and it's finally manifested. And the position switch to guard, I think, just suited him so well. Where, not to say he couldn't play center, but the offensive line that was around him at guard, he was really able to show off his kind of instinct and mobility, doing a lot of this GT stuff. And he'll be a big loss. Alana Lee will be a big loss for sure. They still have games, so I'm not going to talk about them like they're dead. We're still playing here, but just a little bit of next year. It is, it's interesting. I did just see that Ryan O'Keefe from UCF is going to Boston College, which is weird, but he was definitely on TCU's radar. But I think that between Earl and everything that TCU has right now, and the Texas A&M wide receiver coming in, Marshall, there's not a lot of room in TCU's wide receiver depth chart right now. And it like they like Savion, they like Hudson. If both of the tight ends could come back, there would be a lot of opportunity there. So I think they're pretty stoked about the wide receiver room with Earl, but pending that being official. I don't know when anything's ever official, but
yeah. Well, and we kind of talked about this off air a little, and not to look too much ahead because we still do have a game to play against Michigan, but let's say TCU brings in Brockermeyer. Let's say they bring in Earl. The wide receivers come back. Kendra Miller comes back. Max, I don't know if he's coming back or not, but you rebuild there on the offense, and then Parker, TCU returns 12 starters on defense. Is that possible? I mean, the entire defense is coming back.
Just doing some arithmetic there. So you're getting 4 linebackers plus Marcel Brooks, who have all played substantial minutes, and you're getting Thomas Armstrong back. So we've already talked about linebacker. I believe all 3 linemen have an extra year. Obviously, Dom is a baby. And THT just accepted a Shrine Bowl, so I believe that means he's gone.
Sure.
And so Newton comes back, Mark Perry comes back, Bud comes
Keon
back,
Stewart.
Millard comes back, and Keon Stewart's been around for a while. So that's really the only position you're like actually replacing is THT, which is a big thing to replace. But that's a lot of continuity for a defense that definitely has some room to grow.
Yeah, it's just something to be excited about. I mean, it's like this defense has stepped up many times throughout the year, and I think one more year under the system with Gillespie and the 3-3-5 is only going to help.
It is good to toe the line between being excited about this year, but knowing that long run is more important. Like I don't want Sonny Dykes to have a playoff appearance and then 3 7-5 seasons and then TC be looking for another coach. Like this is the stuff. If TC is going to have sustained success, we're going to have to start looking at this stuff.
Yeah, like the goal should not be the Texas Bowl next year. It should be to like keep the foot on the gas pedal, rebuild in the transfer portal for sure, but also like take advantage of a massive amount of talent that is coming back on both sides of the ball. So guys like Brockermeyer, guys like Earl, these are just additions that we're pretty excited about. Hopefully it goes through because Brockermeyer's a unit, dude. He's a
big guy.
Human being.
He just hadn't been able to be healthy. And again, TCU is extremely confident in their ability to develop guys.
Well, they have an actual offensive line coach now.
And they have an offensive line coach, which matters as well. So from both of those standpoints, I think that there's a lot of room for optimism. I will do a shameless plug that I'm not required to do, but like everything I hear is because Jamie like calls me or texts me afterwards. So like go subscribe to Frogs Today and read all their stuff because I know they're in the know with all of that too. That's the only reason I know anything. So make sure you're doing that as well. Yeah.
I probably need to start saying earlier. I'm surprised I haven't had a directive from above. We are brought to you by Frogs Today, as always. In partnership with the
no one listens to this podcast.
That's true. I don't know why we bother. I have said this is a little inside baseball. I have said for weeks that I'm going to start emailing the team over there our audio file like in the morning, and it normally gets to noon before I'm like, oh, I need to send them the file of that episode. So if it starts appearing on the YouTube channel late, that's why. It's because I'm very lazy and very stupid.
Wait, is this on? It's not the video. We're not doing the video on YouTube, right?
No. It's just our audio file is on YouTube. Yeah, I know. The audio file of our episode is on YouTube in case people could have it in a playlist or whatever.
I see.
Yeah. I'll leave a post-it note next time. Parker, it's amazing that they let us do this freaking podcast. There's no easy transition for this.
No one was stopping. Oh, do the transition. I won't riff anymore. We need to talk about
this.
I
need to talk about this. And there's no easy transition. Mike Leach passed away at the age of 61. Head coach at Texas Tech, at Washington State, most recently at Mississippi State. One of the foremost innovators, I think, in college football history. Probably the most influential person in the last 20, 30 years of football. You could maybe take that one step back and go to Hal Mumme, but Leach's offense, his willingness to take things to the logical extreme, and certainly his character were monumental. And I think you and I both had a great admiration for what he did on the field. I think you and I both have probably read Perfect Pass by S.C. Gwynn, which goes into a lot of the history of how the air raid was developed and how many chances Leach took to get there. So, without being too morbid, I think we should probably celebrate Leach just in terms of what a unique and like I said, monumental person he was for college football.
Yeah, it's a really big deal, and it's been cool. There's definitely been a lot of people posting, clinics of his and resources of his, which I think is a great way to celebrate him and say, like, go look at the X's and O's. Like, I can go retweet some of this too. Somebody's tweeted out his like 2003 Texas Tech playbook or whatever it was, and it's just like, this is history. This is amazing to see this, and want to see a college playbook and some clinics and funny stories and all that. But yeah, that is a big thing, and that is a I certainly won't try to wax poetic or anything, and have been kind of annoyed with this. Feels like the biggest like college football because there's like celebrity deaths that happen a lot, and this feels like the biggest college football death, and it is a little bit of like, oh yeah, like celebrity culture is gross and people are just like putting things out there to try and get more engagement, and you're like, okay, that's kind of gross. But I think that there's been a lot of people that I followed that have done a really good job of just like celebrating and saying, hey, here's a cool story, hey, here's a cool resource, something I like. But yeah, it's just a big thing. It's a guy that's been around and has been influential on everything. I mean, before the season, we were talking about how like Garrett Riley was like, I was only, a GA or whatever, but like, I claim him as part of like, I claim being part of his tree. He was so influential on me, like that it goes everywhere. And yeah, helped revolutionize the game, or at least accelerate through evolution.
Yeah, I think you mentioned people that have done a good job. I think Crispy Brown, smartfootball.com, and a bunch of other sites had a really great Twitter thread on Leach. Spencer Hall, Holly Anderson, of course, no surprise, wrote a great thing on Channel 6 about Leach today. I was reminded, and I'm not going to wax poetic, I'm going to steal a quote, because the best college football innovators always steal, and everyone stole from Mike Leach. It's a Hunter S. Thompson, but there he goes, one of God's own prototypes, a high-powered mutant of some kind, never even considered for mass production, too weird to live and too rare to die. And that's Mike Leach to a T. I don't want to be reductive, because I think sometimes the character and the quote-unquote weirdness overshadows just how much of a football genius that man was. But he certainly he had a lot of sound bites. I will say the F you, F me, F everybody, it still gets me fired up. I love that.
Absolutely.
It really makes me laugh.
A very just unique personality in the way that he could roll with a lot of that. And I mean, I even think about like, what was it, last year or the year before, they played Tulsa in their bowl game maybe, and like fought.
Yeah.
Was it?
And he's like in the stands.
He was just like signing autographs or something while his team was like fighting on the field. He's just like very unconcerned. But yeah, definitely big to see, these people pass away, and the face of the game change again now that he's gone. But yeah, certainly a sad time, and obviously prayers and condolences to his family and people who know. And like, I have high school friends who went to Mississippi State, and we've texted a little bit and just been like, yeah, man, this is sad. Like, that's really hard.
Yeah. But you know what? The next time someone calls 4 verts, Mike Leach is going to be happy somewhere, and that's the important thing. Call 4 verts today for Mike. But we could not do this podcast without giving him his proper dues. Again, sad time, prayers to his family. True legend of the game, Mike Leach.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad to see, as we pivot out of this, that Mississippi State's doing the right thing, which is, Leach would have been pissed if we did not play this bowl game. So they're going full steam ahead.
I will say the same thing I would say if they had canceled it. I respect those players' rights to do whatever they want to do in this situation, and I'm glad they're coalescing. And I don't think I'm breaking news by saying that Zach Arnett is going to become the head coach, and so they're well respected. A guy that Mike Leach hired, they're going to kind of continue on with that. I think that's appropriate and well founded, and a good thing. So hopefully that's a healing bonding experience for those guys as well, because that's just really hard.
Yeah. We're transitioning out of just to talk football. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk tired, wired, inspired for a few bowl games. We do all the Big 12 bowls, kind of give our takes and highlight some others. Parker, is there a more contrasting mix of styles than Mississippi State, Illinois in a bowl game?
That's going to be beefy. It's going to be weird. It's going to be just a very odd bowl game. I'm very into that. Again, with so many of these bowl games, we're kind of talking about like hypothetically at full strength and full motivation. That's how I've been trying to deal with these. And again, I don't begrudge the players. Their like the incentive structure is bad, and it's been hollowed out this way intentionally by people who are only interested in funneling money to the corporatized games on in January. But at full strength, Mississippi State and Illinois would be very, very fun.
And very stupid. I mean, Illinois' object is to move as little as possible.
In Tampa.
In Tampa.
Which is just extremely fun as well. Like, yeah, that's just everything you could want out of that. Is very good. And two surprisingly like very good defenses. I certainly have more faith in Will Rogers than I do Tommy DeVito, but very, very interesting one. Are you calling that? We haven't begun our bit yet. Are you calling that one tired or wired or inspired?
I'm tentatively calling it wired because I think it really could be 7-3 and ugly, but that might also make it inspired. So right now we're kind of sticking around at wired, I think. Illinois' head coach or Illinois' defensive coordinator, and his name escapes me now, but just got hired at
Brian
Purdue.
Walters.
Thank you. New head coach at Purdue. Because Jeff Brom went to Louisville because Scott Satterfield went to Cincinnati, which is all very stupid, and we will get to that in a minute.
Well, Scott Satterfield got voluntold to go to Cincinnati. Are you familiar with that term?
Voluntold? But he was telling them to fire him for like 2 years, and he kept winning
he was
enough games.
He was talking about other jobs left and right. Yeah, just saying like, hey, let me, cut me loose. But he took a pay cut to go to Cincinnati, man.
I know. And how they be on the same
and his life's
sideline.
about to get way harder.
Yes.
I don't know if Scott Satterfield is the man that I want leading me into the black of jumping up from the group of 5 to the Big 12, but
we shall see. Parker, let's do the Big 12 bowls first. Kind of an easy slate, and then we'll do a couple that we highlighted. We're just going to go calendar order. Baylor and Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl at
in TCU Stadium.
Carter Stadium.
This sucks. This is so annoying for Baylor, and I think it's so funny because, hey, we're having a bad season. Just let us stay home. We don't want the practices against a triple team. We're not having a good time. We're clearly going to have to do something different on defense. We're losing all of our linemen. No one's enjoying this. And it's Fort Worth in December. It's going to be like, 40s and rainy, like guaranteed thunderstorms and hail or something. It's just going to be awful. And I said this on the Bet US show, write it down. Baylor's total yards on allowed and rushing on defense just got worse every game for the last 5 games. And all Air Force is doing to do is just line up and beat the ever-loving shit out of them. Baylor will probably win. It's going to be so annoying. And that brings me just a ton of joy.
Baylor's a 5.5-point favorite. I would take Air Force if you pinned me down. Oklahoma State and Wisconsin.
Wait, did we call that? How committed to the bit of tired, wired, and started?
No, you're right.
Did you write them down beforehand, or
I did not write them down, but we're going with it. I would call this one tired. I do not want to watch this game unless Baylor's getting their ass beat, in which case it becomes wired. But this is going to be a very, very tired game. Wisconsin and Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl at Chase Field, which is a baseball stadium in Phoenix, Arizona.
The RIP to the OG Cheez-It Bowl.
Yes, which is now
selling out for bowl game. Yeah, for Orlando bowl games. But this is going to be awful because Wisconsin's getting a new coach. Spencer Sanders. Everyone's transferring. Oklahoma State is like a phoenix from the ashes. They're burning it all down. They're doing everything short of firing everyone.
Yeah, I think this is extremely tired. It's not going to be a very fun game to watch. Oklahoma State's offense was tedious at best at some points this year, and Wisconsin's got a good enough defense to make it even more tedious. And I don't want to watch Wisconsin play offense at all. So,
Braylon Allen's fun, and I like him more now that they're not saying like, "Oh, he's 17." Like last year, I feel like every time he ran the ball, they said his age was like a year younger. They were like, "He's a 12-year-old boy running the ball on an FCS game."
To be fair, that's what we do with Dom Williams every time he makes a sack. Like, look at that giant 11-year-old. He's fantastic. We have him for a decade.
Dom Williams has a weird Benjamin Button degree or kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. But yes, I agree. It's what you do. You're just like, oh, that kid's, was 17 when he enrolled, which means he's younger. And then you just kind of, it just goes from there.
Just right. Listen, at this point in the season, you need a narrative, and they're just looking for anything to have. On Wednesday, December 28th, Kansas versus Arkansas. Kansas, Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl down in your neck of the woods, Parker.
If I will talk about the Liberty Bowl here in a second. If Kansas wins this game, do they take the R from Arkansas?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I think Arkansas gets an extra R.
I certainly don't mean to be insensitive as to the presumably native roots of those state names, but it is interesting. You have Arkansas and Kansas. Liberty Bowl, underrated venue. Liberty Bowl is always gross. It's going to be terrible weather. But you can get in a regular season game for the Memphis Tigers, you can walk from, hypothetically, if you live in some crappy apartments right by the Liberty Bowl, just hypothetically, you could cut across the CBU campus, Christian Brothers University, walk to the Liberty Bowl for $5.
Whoa. What is Christian Brothers University?
Christian Brothers University is a Lasallian institution. It's just a little university in Memphis, a little private school, a little Catholic school.
Okay. Is it any way affiliated with Christian Brothers Automotive?
No. This is like literally like Lasallian order. There are multiple schools that are a part of this. Yeah. It's where my dad went to college. Just to throw
fun fact
out there.
There you go.
But right next to the Liberty Bowl, which is not really close. It's not far from Memphis's campus, but it's not on campus. And you can get a Pronto Pup for $5. You can get a beer for $3 or $4, and it's just it's a nice stadium, and they've upgraded it a little bit. So underrated venue, definitely worth going if you're in town. You can also walk to Central Barbecue right there on Central after the game, so that's always great. I'm tempted to call this one wired.
I'm right there with you.
Kansas offense is just so stupid, and Arkansas's defense will let you score.
Yes, and like anything Sam Pittman does, I take great joy in. So I enjoy watching Arkansas and Kansas going for what would be their 7th win would be amazing on their Lance Leipold.
Just think of the pregame, all the media of Sam Pittman eating ribs that we're going to see, like walking around Memphis eating. I want like an Anthony Bourdain style show of Sam Pittman walking down Beale Street. I think the possibilities are great there. We're getting close to inspired here. I might talk myself into that if we stick on it too long.
Can I tell you what wasn't inspired? I was talking with my friend about this last Thursday when I was in Dallas. The TCU Georgia Liberty Bowl is one of the least memorable college football games I've ever seen. I couldn't tell you a single detail about it.
I hated it so much. It was one of my least favorite football games of all time. And what's ironic about that is I've been to Liberty Bowl when it was like Colorado State and Louisville, and it was raining and your seats froze when you stood up. And the Memphis Liberty Bowl was like a crisp, clear winter day. It was like sunny and nice and everything. And I think the biggest detail was that I went and like stayed the night with a friend down by the stadium the night before. We went to the game, and then I connected back with my parents after the game. Because my car wasn't there, I had like come in town, I didn't have a car. And I just was like, I'm hungover at 3:30 in the afternoon and my parents are taking me home. Like, this is just I'm just not having fun at all.
Used to play like they were hungover at 11 a.m. Moving on. This is inspired. Texas Tech, Ole Miss in the Texas Bowl at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, December 28th. Grab your popcorn, brother.
This is great. This is just a stupid drunk game. Both teams are returning all their coaches. I think Ole Miss is technically losing somebody to Auburn, whatever, O-line coach or whatever, but coordinators are staying, main people who are involved, they're playing, few opt-outs. This is going to be wild. Just going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. Hunter Cook is going to tweet some of the most outrageous things you've ever seen about Lane Kiffin. For those in the know, just get ready. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
I bet he'll sell tickets to his Twitter circle. I was just put in, but I bet he would sell tickets to it.
This is inspired. The over-under is 70.5. Buddy, take the over. It's going to be a rollicking good time.
Yeah, give me a second. Let me actually look at my numbers.
Yeah, I'm curious.
And see what I projected in terms of over.
This is the game. It's good. Wednesday, December 28th. Like, a lot of people have like the week off for work or they're taking holidays, whatever. Like, get a bottle of bourbon and settle in. It's 8 p.m.
Dude.
What?
I have 52 points. That sucks. No, it's going over. It's going over.
No. Yeah, your numbers don't make any sense. Your
defense optional.
Yes. No one's showing up to play defense.
That one's inspired. Absolutely inspired. Ole Miss, Texas Tech. I think the next one is close to inspired, but it's probably just wired because let me tell you, Florida State is going to beat the hell out of Oklahoma, Grant. That's just going to happen.
That might be inspiring to watch. Thursday, December 29th, 4:30 p.m. in the Cheez-It Bowl, but the fake Cheez-It Bowl because it's in Orlando. Ridiculous.
Cheez-It Bowl.
Florida State, Oklahoma. This may be inspired just to see how much Oklahoma Twitter can light itself on fire.
Yeah, I would just stay out of it entirely. Those people are animals, but when you think about it, Grant, most people are technically animals if we're getting biological.
I think all of us are. Yeah.
Florida State is going to get the NC State treatment this offseason. You know what I mean by that?
Mhm.
I've said this before too, so I don't mean to pander, but
please go ahead.
what happened to NC State this offseason? Blue Checks
Returned everybody.
saw that they had returning production and a quarterback. They became the dark horse pick. And they were the market fundamentals were there, but they became overrated in their hype. I think Florida State is gonna fill that role next year, especially with Clemson looking bad for a second year in a row. Clemson looking bad for them, of course, but
yeah,
Florida State they played better than their record last year. This year they were hurt a little bit. They very easily should have won that game against LSU, and played very well. We're towards the top of my opponent adjusted efficiency margin stuff. Like they're looking really, really good. I think that they're just going to come out and just whoop Oklahoma, just whoop them.
Going to be very entertaining. People are saying, is Oklahoma ready to make a change at the coaching position? I'm not saying it, but other people are saying.
Do you think Brent Venables knew it was this bad?
No, I don't.
I don't think he was prepared for a full rebuild, and they're going to have to close to do that, dude.
I know, and I almost wonder if other coaches were interviewed before Venables saw what they had and said, "Oh hell no, I'm not touching this." With a
lot of them said, "Hey, I'm not going to sit there and let Jeff Lebby be my OC," which was evidently conditional on some of that. So that's another off-season pod sort of a thing. But that being said, Jackson Arnold's a 5-star who's like winning the state championship in Oklahoma right now. Maybe he just shows up and is awesome. Eternity begins anew each day. We'll find out.
Speaking of high school, I'm missing Mark versus Albany in the 2A championship while we record this, and I'm very upset. It looks like a hell of a game.
I had a 6-man on in the background earlier today.
6-man's so fun. I've watched some banger 6-man games.
I had a kid in my youth group who I think he's playing football at Wheaton now, up in Chicago, and he played 6-man, but the private school, so it was like the lower one. Yeah. And they played the state championship the year before COVID. I agreed to go. I didn't realize it was going to be like an hour and a half, west of Fort Worth or whatever, but went out there, and the innovation of like what some of these guys do, because it's like, hey, I have one athlete and then 5 liabilities on the field here, but you also can't the quarterback can't take off. So they do all sorts of these like handoff throwback pitch things so that the quarterback scramble becomes a deal. It's fascinating. It's so interesting to me.
It's absolutely amazing. The little private school I used to cover made like the TAP 6-man championship several times, and every time it was just a blast. Shout out North Central Texas Academy. Speaking of Texas, that's a transition. In the Alamo Bowl at 8 p.m. on December 29th, Texas takes on Washington. Texas is a 4.5-point favorite. Parker, this is wired. I think it's going to be a good game. And I'm curious to see what narratives the national media can draw from this if Texas were to beat Washington.
Michael Penix is very fun. I was going to call this tired because I believe that Texas has some opt-outs that are going to make this not as fun. I know that like Bijan Robinson is not going to play, and there's no reason that he should play in this. But I do believe that Michael Penix is very fun, and Texas's defense is not very good. And that gives you a really nice matchup there. Bijan's not playing. Roshan's not playing. Overshawn's not playing. A couple injuries there as well. And Washington, Penix is coming back. They're loaded up for a Pac-12 run. This could be kind of like the opposite of Texas beating, who was it? Colorado in the Alamo Bowl a couple years ago when Sam Ehlinger said, we're back. I guess it was the Sugar Bowl.
Georgia. It was Georgia
in the Sugar Bowl. But I think the year after that, they beat Colorado in the Alamo Bowl? Yeah,
maybe. Colorado would have made an Alamo Bowl. Colorado sucked.
No way.
Missouri, wasn't it?
That was a Texas Bowl? I don't know.
Who can say? I know it wasn't Colorado because Colorado hadn't been good in years.
What am I thinking of?
They beat Georgia. They beat Missouri. Or maybe Missouri beat them. Anyway.
Well, that was because when Tom Herman made fun of Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Right? I remember that.
Yeah.
No, they went to Alamo Bowl 2019.
Did it beat Colorado?
No, they beat Utah in 2019. And in 2000, it has to be 2020. They beat Colorado because the Pac-12 didn't play. Yes,
Okay.
It was 2020. Okay, all right,
Okay.
all is well. I've survived. I'm here. I figured it out. I landed the plane.
What a fall
the only
from
reason
Oh yeah, no, that's Mel Tucker,
Colorado-
Colorado. That makes sense. Yeah,
is Mel Tucker, Colorado. They went 4-2. They played UCLA at Stanford, San Diego State at Arizona, and they lost to Utah and Texas. So
murderers
the
row.
the pandemic was sad. People died. It also gave us very funny things like 4-2 Alamo Bowl, Mel Tucker. No, I think that was honestly Carl Durrell's first year because Mel Tucker took the job in like February of COVID year.
That's right. Yep.
And so it's Carl Durrell's first year. So that probably bought them a little bit of time, but now they have Coach Prime. This has gone off the rails from Texas and Washington entirely. But
I just wanted to take one more pot shot, which is that it's probably smart for Overshawn not to play this game so coaches can't get more film of him missing tackles. Now we move on to
can't miss a
Sugar
tackle.
Bowl.
You don't attempt.
If you don't try it. Kansas State, Alabama this is inspired to me. This is inspired as hell.
Only okay. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I have no idea. I think Alabama will win, but in the scenario where Kansas State wins, it's going to be cool as hell.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a win-win for me because it would be very funny. I mean, like I'm very fine with Kansas State and like them beating an SEC team is good. I think they had a great season and that's totally fine. But also it'd be really funny if like Alabama just uncorked whatever like latent death mode machine is there and I don't want Alabama to win like 31-28 against Kansas State, right? Like I want Alabama to win like 55-4 or something just obscene, or Kansas State to win. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential here. I think I'm going with inspired. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Alabama only a 3-point favorite over Kansas State.
I think crazy. Bryce Young is not playing, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is not playing, and I think Will
makes
Anderson
a lot of sense.
Playing.
Well, that's probably worth 10 points by itself. Okay, Parker, you and I each picked one game that is tired, one game that is wired, and one game that is inspired.
We're not doing the TCU Michigan game because that game is glorious and we don't have to make fun of it. Yeah.
Correct. And also
we're talking about that one later.
Yeah, and also we're doing like offensive previews on Sunday for Michigan and then defensive previews on Wednesday for Michigan. So stay tuned for that. We're doing a lot more there. We did not coordinate this at all. So fingers crossed, none of our games overlap.
I picked 2, so I'll let you go first if that's okay. And then if you pick mine, I'll just pretend you didn't.
Okay, that's perfect.
Because I had to do it's not fair. I had to do all my prep for BetUS, so I just did.
Yeah, no,
I did that while I was doing it. So
yeah. So my tired game, the Camellia Bowl, Georgia Southern versus Buffalo at noon on Tuesday, December 27th from Montgomery, Alabama in the Crampton Bowl. 10 people will be at this game. And I love college football. You could not pay me to attend this game.
Yeah, at least it's in the South. Like, and so the weather might be plausibly okay. It's not like, hey, welcome to Syracuse. We've got to play a football game outside.
But at least that's a dome.
Here. Well, that's true. I just meant upstate.
No, I know. Yeah.
I'm not going there. That one's pretty dismal. I like that energy. I'm going to take this just a kind of a cheating direction. A lot of mine are going to be earlier on because I think these bowl games are hilarious. Speaking of playing a game that's going to be miserable outdoors in the North, can we go to Fenway at 11 a.m. Eastern on December 17th and watch a coachless Louisville play a coachless Cincinnati in a game that no one cares about at all?
They're going to care now. No, it
doesn't matter. None of all these guys are gone. None of it matters. None of the players, Malik Cunningham's opting out. Like that would be if Malik Cunningham was playing, it would be a sin to call this tired because like he's fun as hell, but he is not. He's not playing. This is going to be an awful game. Yeah, I'm going tired. Is Louisville Cincy?
Okay. Let me give you my wired. I'm deciding between a couple here. Give me. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl presented by Stifel. Washington State versus Fresno State. I assume Jake Hayner's playing in this game.
He is, but I'm going to let you do this again. I'm going to let you pick the other one.
Why is that?
Eric Morris just took the UNT job, so I don't think he's coaching for Washington State. And their two linebackers opted out. This happened to me. This was embarrassing. This was like straight up embarrassing. I picked Washington State because I had a good reason. And then on air, I saw the tweet where it was like Eric Morris is going, and then there was like 3 Washington State opt-outs right after that. And I was like, nope, I'm not giving this out on air. I'm not calling this.
Fair enough.
That one's probably going to be Jake Haener being cool, which in itself can be wired, but I don't know that's going to be competitive.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then I'll give you my backup, which is the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl between Oregon and North Carolina from another baseball stadium, Petco Park in San Diego, 8 p.m. on Wednesday, December 28th. No defense will be played. It will be very entertaining.
Okay, I'll tell you, that was my inspired pick. That was
damn. Okay.
I have another one. That's okay. But
okay,
that is going to be absurd. Grant, I don't know if you've seen this. Do you have your computer in front of you?
I do, yes.
Can you pull up Twitter? We're going to do this live on air.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just want your reaction to this.
Twitter.
If you go to my profile.
I'm clicking right now.
Okay.
At Stats of War on Twitter.
At Stats of War. You scroll back to a tweet 5 hours ago where I retweeted an Oregon guy talking about May to Downs. My quote tweet is, "This team is ridiculous."
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Click and watch this play, and I'm just going to narrate for a minute what's going on here. UNC is the most absurd football team in history because their entire offense was Drake May, don't die. Oh, just chuck it. And Josh Downs is going to get open. And that's a compliment to Drake May and to Josh Downs. The fact that they were able to score touchdowns on this is just absolutely absurd. They scored a touchdown, and then their next 3 plays went interception, sack, interception. That was their next 3 offensive plays after this like amazing, absurd play. Yes, this game is absolutely wired. This is going to be as fun, if not more fun than Ole Miss Texas Tech, which stinks that they're on at the same time.
I know. It blows. Do you have a wired before we get to my inspired?
I do have a wired. It's UTSA Troy. Legitimately going to be a good football game. Going to be awesome. Frank Harris is back. Zachary Franklin's a dude, and Troy has been under the radar like awesome this year. Going to be an amazing game. So excited for it. That is the I'm trying to not read sponsors as I do this. That's just the Cure Bowl. Okay, I'm pro Cures. The Purple Theory podcast endorses Cures. Yeah. The Purple Theory podcast endorses The Cure, even if that's what it's named after as well. So I'm fine with that. In Orlando, Troy versus UTSA. Honestly, like a low key, I wish it was a little later in the season, but like a great reward for a Sun Belt and CUSA team that won their conference to be like, hey, you're going to Orlando, you're playing at 3 p.m. That's great.
Yeah. I almost picked that one for my wired. That's going to be a really fun game. I'm so excited to tell you my inspired because we're going sickos. December 31st, the TransPerfect Music City Bowl, Iowa versus Kentucky at noon.
This isn't
Nissan
fair. You're
Stadium.
breaking the rules. You don't believe this game is inspired. You're only doing it for the laughs.
It's going to be 12-3, and the 12s will be 2 safeties, a touchdown, and an extra point. I don't know what the hell.
You know what it's going to be at this point? It's going to be like 43-40. It's going to be like the Music City Bowl last year where Purdue and Tennessee went to overtime and just whatever. Like it's no way it's going to be this like low scoring thing just because that makes too much sense.
Well, then fine. I want to see if Spencer Petras can score 43 points. If he physically can do it, I want to see him try.
I bet Spencer Petras could throw more touchdowns in the Music City Bowl than he has all season.
Oh, that's
what I'm rooting for. Is he in single digits? This is what we need to do.
He has to be. Let me see.
Grant, can I tell you something very sad? This is not the first time this season that I have rapidly Googled Spencer Petras while we've been on the air.
He's thrown 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Okay, this game is only inspired if it becomes a shootout and Spencer Petras, who I don't even know if he's going to play.
He's not playing. He's hurt. He's not playing.
Okay, all right. Well, the dream is dead. Yes, that one's going to be just absolutely absurd. I have run out of inspired games because it's Arkansas versus Kansas. It's North Carolina versus Oregon. And the other one that I had circled that might be legitimately fun is, so this one's probably more wired than it is inspired, but the Sun Bowl, UCLA Pitt, great offense, great defense, bad defense, bad offense. Really nice matchup. Going to be interesting to see how they can do it. I love Chip Kelly against Narduzzi. I don't want to be hyper romantic or over dramatic here, but like that's best on best, man. That's like legacy right there. That's pretty great. So that one is my third, I guess, third rated inspired game. That's another one I think is good. So
that works. Parker, is there anything else we need to hit on before we wrap up? Am I missing anything?
No, I don't. It feels weird that we like talked about and planned what we were going to do on the podcast before we podcasted, because now I feel like I'm missing something just because we wrote anything down at all. But the good news is the Post-it note upon which I wrote our planning has not moved off of my desk. I have not looked at it since I wrote it down, and it doesn't have anything else on there for today. So I feel like we're doing it pretty good. We will on the 18th do offense, on the 21st do defense. And then we'll skip for a week until the 28th and do our schedule review, and then the best case, worst case scenario, and all of that for the Michigan game. So this was just a little bit of fun banter about bowl season, trying to get together a bowl pick'em thing, but I'll tweet out the link if it happens. I don't know. My little brother is just slacking right now. I'm trying to get him to set it up for me, and he's worse than Beans, man. I don't know. Tell him to do something and he just doesn't do it. So other than that, no, I think I'm good. We'll be back focusing on TCU.
We have to get better interns around here. I swear. You can't find good help anymore. It's
Yeah. And I can't remember what it was. I texted Colin about something, and then he like the next thing he texted back was like, I'm about to open up a hopadillo. I was like, no, we're doing something.
What part of this don't you understand? Parker.
I don't even know it's real anymore.
This has been the Purple Theory Podcast. My name is Grant McGalliard. You can find me on Twitter at Grant McGalliard. It's spelled like it sounds with all those vowels. He is Parker Fleming. He is at Stats of War. He did the Bet US show Tuesday and Wednesday, and you can watch those replays on YouTube. We're excited to bring you the Michigan previews. We're excited for bowl season. We'll be on Twitter, in the chat, all that. Other than that, keep the faith. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.